There's a version of the story I used to tell, the polished one. The one where I say I was a psychologist living in this beautiful house in Mallorca, building my business with my sister, being in a healthy relationship, raising my son, doing the work. And all of that was true. Every single word. And at the same time, I was sitting on my kitchen floor at 9 p.m. wondering why nothing really felt like enough. Wondering how the woman who'd spent her entire career helping other women feel more alive, tap into their joy, tap into their pleasure, felt quietly, persistently not. If you've ever looked at your life, really looked at it and thought, this is good. This is actually really good. And you still felt like something was off. Like you're living someone else's dream of your life and everything sort of tastes like old gum. Then you, my love, are in the right place. And I need you to hear this. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just not done yet. Welcome to the 12 out of 10. I'm Nadja Olivera, psychologist, life reinvention coach, single mom, and I live in Mallorca. And this podcast is specifically for the woman who's smart, who's capable, who's done her inner work. She's read the books, listened to the podcast, even does some journaling, maybe's been to retreats, done the therapy, who has a life that looks good from the outside, the career, the relationship or divorce, kids possibly, and who still, underneath all of it, knows she's settling. Not settling for a bad life, but settling for a life that isn't fully hers. I know her because I was her. And she deserves someone by her side who doesn't just tell her to be more grateful. She deserves someone by her side who says, yes, hell yes you want more. It's okay to want more. You're allowed to want more. And I know what it costs to choose that because I chose it. As a psychologist, I obviously love a good framework. And in my experience, every woman, including myself, goes through those 4 stages of creating her 12 out of 10 life. Today, I'm going to be taking you through all the 4 stages. And in the following episodes, we're going to go into more detail. So let's dive into stage number 1. The first thing that has to happen, and that's the thing most women actually never do, is notice the settling. Not label it, not fix it, just notice. I want to tell you something I did not say out loud for years. I remember one evening, we were sitting on the sofa in our house in Mallorca. Our son was sleeping upstairs. We were watching some kind of show on Netflix. I cannot even remember. He was scrolling on his phone. We were in the same room, but I felt the loneliest I've ever been. Not alone in the house, but alone right next to my partner. And I did not know how to change that. We had tried 1,000 times. We had done regular couples check-ins. We talked. We tried date nights. We showed up for each other. But the feeling did not go away. So I went to the fridge, got another bowl of fruit and yogurt because that's healthy. I opened my laptop and I worked until midnight. I outbusied my thoughts. I kept moving so I wouldn't have to feel what was sitting right there underneath the surface. And here's what I know now that I didn't know then. The snacking was never about food. The working late wasn't really about ambition. The Netflix wasn't really about fun. It was about the voice I didn't want to hear. And I knew exactly what it was gonna say. That's the settling. And the only way through is to stop running from it long enough to actually look it in the eye. This brings us to stage number 2. Once you see it, this is the scariest part because it's about reclaiming what you actually want. Not what you're supposed to want, not what's the responsible thing to want, but what you actually, in the quiet part, that knowing part inside your body, truly desire. And that's the part that terrified me. Because what I wanted, what I actually wanted deep down, was a life that felt like mine. A partner who could meet me, freedom, my own business. And I had spent years talking myself out of those desires because they required things of me I did not know how to do yet. My sister was and still is in this relationship. And I would watch them together and feel this quiet thing inside of me that I didn't know how to name yet. He treated her like a queen while knowing he was her equal. He was building something. He had his own passion. He had this quiet presence that seemed to make her melt into him and make her light shine brighter. He paid attention to the little details. He spoke her love language. He took responsibility and action without being asked. And I felt so jealous in a way that I would have never dared to say out loud. Because what does it say about you when you're in a loving relationship? You love your partner, and at the same time, you feel so incredibly jealous watching your sister be loved and bloom. It means you know what's possible. And it also means you know you're not living it. There was this moment at a retreat I was hosting, and it was a beautiful exercise we did in one of the last days. One woman got to lie down in the center, and all the other ones were sharing the vision they had for her, the images they saw for the future she was going to be living. And when it was my turn, I laid down on the floor, and all those women started sharing what they saw for me. They saw me on stages. They saw me traveling the world. They saw me changing the lives of thousands of women. And not a single one of those women saw me small. Not a single one of those women saw me shrinking. Not a single one of those women saw me settling for something that wasn't mine. And one woman saw this man beside me. Not any man, but a man who can actually hold that. A man who didn't just exist next to the light, but actually made it shine brighter. And I went to sleep next to someone who I had secretly written in my journal, and I would have never dared to admit to anyone because of all that shame I was feeling. I deep down thought was a loser. Not because he was a bad man. He was actually a really, really good man. He was kind. He was a good father. And he gave me something in our relationship that I'd never experienced before. And that was safety. But I had outgrown the container of this relationship. And the desire was showing me this so clearly that I couldn't keep pretending I hadn't seen it. And that is the desire moment. Not always a thunderbolt. Sometimes it's just this quiet knowing, that quiet feeling of jealousy that you finally decide to be honest about. And that brings us to stage number 3, the brave choice. And this is the part where so many people freeze, because bravery doesn't mean no fear. And I need you to hear that, because part of me was terrified every step of my own story. In my early 20s, I overcame my eating disorder. I got clean, I got sober, when it would have been so much easier not to. I did the inner work. I changed my career to become a psychologist. I moved to Mallorca. I left a marriage even though he was a good man. I moved into my own apartment as a single mom with a toddler and a business that mainly existed in my own vision. None of that was fearless. All of that was brave. And the difference is, a brave choice is one you make anyway. Fear is invited to come along for the ride, but I'm the one driving. And that brings us to stage number 4, the living of all of this, the actual 12 out of 10. And I want to be honest with you. The 12 out of 10 is not some kind of destination. It's not the moment you have moved, the moment you have divorced, when you've lost the weight, once you signed your dream client. It's a daily practice of choosing yourself. Some days I feel it completely. I practically jump out of bed in the morning. I take my little bike. I ride by the ocean to my little office. In the afternoon, we enjoy the Mallorcan sun. I watch my son play in the waves. We're laughing. My work is meaningful. And I think to myself, this is what I chose this for. And then there are other days where I'm tired, where money is stressful, where the loneliness of single motherhood is real. And I have to choose myself again. And I do, every single time, from the floor, no matter what. And here's the thing that nobody's going to tell you about reinvention. At the time when I was feeling so incredibly jealous of my sister, at the time when I was sitting on that sofa feeling so incredibly lonely, I was outmanning every single man in my life, including my husband. So the work was never just about leaving. It was about becoming. Because you cannot receive what you have not yet become a match for. And that's what the 12 out of 10 life actually is. It's not about a dramatic exit. It's not about blowing up your entire life. No, it's the daily, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes glorious work of becoming the woman who can actually hold the life she's been secretly dreaming about. Not perfectly, but fully yours. Every episode, I'm going to leave you with one question. Something to sit with. Not a task, not a homework, a question for your body, not your brain. And today's question is, where in your life are you performing a version of okay, when deep down in your bones you know that okay is not enough? You don't have to answer it right now. Let it walk with you, sit with it, let it move you. And if you feel like going deeper, if you really want to see where your life is already at 12 out of 10 and where it isn't, I created this free 12 out of 10 life audit. It's an honest look at every area of your life, at health, body, money, sexuality, pleasure, friendships, love. There's 12 areas, obviously. But yeah, it's an honest look at every single area of your life. And it will tell you exactly where you are settling and where you're already living it. DM me audit on Instagram at Nadja Loves Life. I also put that in the show notes and I'll send it to you directly. I am so glad you're here. This podcast is what I wish had existed while I was sitting on my kitchen floor, yogurt bowl and fruit at hand, knowing deep down that I deserve more. You deserve more. I'll see you next Tuesday. I love you. Adios.